My course is called Turning Points, and we look at places where memory intersects with American history. I'm interested in these intersections because I think personal histories can help us see American history more clearly. So I've chosen 4 American artists and writers whose careers span from the 1940s to 2020s. And their experiences, their personal turning points, can help us understand larger American turning points, such as immigration, emancipation, internment, and the civil rights movement. I've chosen these 4 because of their inclusive dimensions. I wanted to go beyond the black-white dichotomies of what it means to be inclusive in American. So I've chosen Hung Liu, a Chinese American who came to America in 1984. She's a painter who paints monumental portraits of ordinary people. In China, she'd experienced the Cultural Revolution. She'd been sent to labor on a rural farm for 4 years. But when she came to America, she taught at Mills College for several decades. She died just last year before the opening of a massive retrospective of her art at the Smithsonian Museum. So what do I mean about Hung Liu's monumental portraits of ordinary individuals? Her process, if you haven't seen her art, is to have she adds linseed oil to her oil paints so that the paintings themselves run and bleed over the surface of the canvas. She says for her, that's an expression of how history erodes and preserves individual lives. So our second artist is Chiura Obata, who came to America from Japan in time for the earthquake. So he comes as a teenager when his parents immigrate. And he's best remembered for his paintings of the Yosemite region and the Sierras. But although he was teaching at Cal for several decades, he was interned in the 1940s. It's kind of unbelievable to me that came and swept him up. So we'll look at paintings that he did in the camps. He taught 600 students from the ages of 5 to 75 while he was in the camps. And we'll also look at his monumental portraits of American grandeur. He said he was always impressed by the grand American landscape. So we'll look at his very amazing paintings of Yosemite and the Sierras. Then we look at 2 historians. Annette Gordon-Reed is an African-American scholar and a native of Texas. And what's fascinating to me about her is that she looks at the foundational myths that American identity is based on, but gives us a new starting point, Texas. So her history is written through the lens of memoir-ish writing. She counts a lot on the stories retold over generations by her own family. And what she reveals is things we didn't know. For instance, in her own family history, emancipation is just 2 generations away. So it's not surprising that that legacy of slavery is very much present with us today, and we need to acknowledge it, to reckon with it. We always need to read James Baldwin and reread him. So I've chosen 2 documentaries of Baldwin, one just after he died, so it's focused on his funeral, and one 2 decades later than that. And what we see in these documentaries, James Baldwin calls himself a native son without a birthright. And so we investigate what that means to be born African American and have no claim to the civil rights, have you constantly bump up against the fact that these are not granted to him automatically. And so we see Baldwin as a person. We can see how angry he is. We can see how passionate he is. And we can also see that his work is based on love. So those are the 4 that I've chosen to concentrate on because those intersections between the personal history and American history are so poignant and also so important. They introduce us to American history from another dimension. So the course is intentionally and subconsciously interdisciplinary. Often we don't know we're in a discipline, we're using a discipline until we see it compared to another one. So we're going to look very self-consciously at how we absorb information how we read memoir, how we read film, how we look at art. So each of these figures presents challenges to us in the ways that we absorb their information, and yet incredible insights, I think. I'm going to ask participants in the course to also do some of that work, that they'll write personal reflections in responding to these materials that link their own experience to their own family histories. So I think that even over a 6-week course, we're going to get a very satisfying cache of personal reflections that will be of lasting use to the participants to figure out how to understand their own lives and this historical moment through exploring family histories. So I hope you'll join us in January. Thank you.